really thrilled you all like each other. This is a wonderful first dating thing. So thank you all. Glad everybody's connecting with the folks at your table. We'd like to make sure we stay on track. But before we get to Dan Skalitsky's presentation, we'd like to introduce Dr. Tracy Cart, the director of our School of IT, with an announcement.
Thank you, Craig. I just wanted to sort of build on this event and let you know that the School of IT will be hosting an event September 29th, likely out here at the Alumni Center, on the cost of a breach. So we heard our earlier speaker talk about having to quantify both the likelihood or probability that something will happen and then what it would cost if it did. And this will start to unpack more of how do we determine those costs. David Nolan, who's the CISO for Aaron's Rental, who is a graduate of our program, will be leading that. I suspect Dan Talby, who's our CISO, will be a part of that conversation as well. It will be an event open to students, but also to local organizations. So if it's something of interest to you, we'd love to host you for that event. And a couple of other notes. Within the School of IT, we have computer science, cybersecurity, information systems, and computer networking students. We have about 1,000 students altogether in our programs. All of those students are required to do an internship. So if hiring is a part of your obligations in your organization and you'd like to know more about how you go about recruiting at ISU, I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. And then the second part is, if you always thought it would be fun to come and talk to a room full of students, and it is mostly fun, and you think you'd like to come and give a talk in a cybersecurity class or another type of IT class, we're always looking for speakers. So also let me know that, and we can get you into a class to talk about something that excites you. And then finally, while there are not a lot of women in the room, an area that we know that we could use the most help with as we look across our 4 programs, the program that has the least number of women in it in the School of IT is cybersecurity. So if you have a passion, whether you're female or not, about increasing interest among young women in cybersecurity as a profession, we'd love to have that conversation with you as well. So I'm seated over there. And I'd be happy to talk to any of you. I'm going to be like Andave and tell you I am leaving early as well. I have to be on campus at 2:20 to talk to some incoming freshmen, but I will be here until then. And I'm easy to find on our website if you want to just reach out via email. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Cart. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Daniel Skalitsky with Palo Alto, who's going to be doing a presentation on some steps that can be taken to address the risks that are out there. Dan has 20 years of experience with network infrastructure and security issues, so he brings a wealth of experience to us. And I think I heard if you stay till the end of the day, it's 50% off 2 Palo Alto firewalls if you stay. We covered that, right? Julie, we're good with that? We can do that? All right, good. With that, thank you, Dan.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot. Again, Dan Skalitsky. I'm an account executive with Palo Alto Networks. I also have, like Charlie, cheat sheet, so I don't go too far off script. I do have that tendency. So I'm very excited to be here and part of this event. Palo Alto Networks is the global leader in cybersecurity with over 90,000 customers worldwide. We own and maintain the largest and most accurate threat intelligence in the world. With 90,000 customers, we obviously learn a lot every day about zero-day new threats. We are cloud-delivered threat intelligence where all of the threats that we see and anomalies that we see are brought up to our cloud threat intelligence and analyzed. So it is very effective if if we see a threat somewhere across the globe, we can analyze that, create a protection for it, and all of our customers will have that protection within minutes. So really, really an advanced and really cool architecture. Walt had mentioned, or I saw on the screen, the SolarWinds attack. Everyone probably remembers that SolarWinds attack. We were one of the only, our Cortex XDR was one of the only solutions that actually was able to block that before any damage was done. I know we have a lot of technical expertise here, but so this may be review for you guys, but anyone that is new, maybe not as tech savvy, hopefully you'll get some insight. Good. I got one. That's good. So cybersecurity is ever evolving. It is an absolute necessity for businesses today. The requirements you have for your security functions correspond to the size and business needs of your organization. Managing risks has to be balanced with keeping your business running at top speed. So I want to take a few minutes here to share some insight that pertains to protecting your business. As you all know, small and medium-sized businesses are often challenged with keeping up with today's fast technology environment. Limited resources can hinder you from maintaining strong security posture. Small businesses are very agile and can adopt new technologies very quickly. But this can also introduce new security vulnerabilities very quickly. Vulnerabilities that you haven't really even thought about. I have a great example. There was this hotel who had a great big saltwater fish tank in their lobby. And a contractor who maintained the fish tank installed a device that measured water temp, salinity, the overall environment, keeping the fish and the aquatics healthy. For simplicity, we'll call this a fancy thermometer. The device was connected via Wi-Fi, and the device would send this environmental data over the wire to the contractor, which saved the contractor a lot of time. They didn't have to continually visit the fish tank and do their tests manually. This was all sent to them, and they could react very quickly to any changes in the environment. Super great, really handy. The problem was this fancy thermometer was connected to the corporate Wi-Fi. A hacker was able to connect to that thermometer in the fish tank from his car out in the parking lot on his laptop and get into the corporate network through the thermometer. Once in the network, he was able to explore the network, drop a payload, a command and control. Now that PC becomes his eyes and searches the entire network for vulnerabilities, unpatched desktop operating systems, servers, whatever it may be, printers, and was able to accelerate his writes and exfiltrate all the customer and employee data for this hotel. You know, very clever. I mean, that's something that before I had heard this, it didn't occur to me. This is an example of IoT, obviously. Another example is, this is more theoretical, but small businesses. Let's say you implement a SaaS application for your hourly employees' timekeeping. That timekeeping system then connects into your payroll system on site. The SaaS application itself, yes, is going to be secured, right, by the vendor. Well, you can't assume it is, but let's just say it is. Now, the connection from the SaaS application into your payroll, is that piece secured? If that piece isn't secured, boom, you've got a problem. So the moral of this story is you cannot rely solely on your SaaS vendors for your application security. You really have to be diligent about this. The challenge is attacker innovation is increasing. It's we are fighting cyber risks with artificial intelligence, right? The adversaries are also using artificial intelligence. So it's AI against AI. We need to be one step ahead. Obviously, the adversary has to be right once. We have to be right every single time. With the speed and the acceleration of these attacks, legacy analysis techniques are not very effective. Attackers can easily bypass these legacy malware techniques. Legacy analysis includes things like fingerprinting and definition creation. But with that, you have to first see the breach and then create a hash or a definition to protect against that breach. You do not want to be patient zero. If you're patient zero, you don't have, there is no definition, there is no protection against that. And that's where AI comes in. AI and next generation firewalls, which are come in many, all kinds of form factors, cloud-based, obviously hardware, and machine learning and AI are able to proactively identify behavioral anomalies and defend against zero-day attacks. Any new firewall or cyber protection, you should be using artificial intelligence for that. Let's see here. So there are things you can do right now to protect yourself. Like I said, a lot of the technical expertise in this room may already know this, but if not, maybe, I hope I can give you a bit of insight here. Craig Jackson and I were talking last week, and he brought up a really good analogy, and that was the club. Does everyone remember the club for your car? So you connected the club to the steering wheel, made it virtually impossible to drive because you couldn't steer the vehicle. The club was a deterrent. The thief comes into a parking lot. He's looking at in all the cars. He sees the club. Likely he's going to go on to the next car, an easier target. Cybercrime is often a crime of opportunity. So there are some really basic deterrents that you can do to kind of have that fly-by-night hacker move on to the next person. And I'd like to go over actually some of them. So again, next generation firewall, you should have a firewall on your perimeter. With advancements in SASE and access and remote access, the lines are kind of being blurred where, it's possible down the road, probably fairly far down the road, that we won't have firewalls. Everything will be cloud-based. The power of the cloud, we need the power of the cloud to be able to analyze these threats and anomalies at speed. And the only way we have is the compute power in the cloud. So, a next generation firewall can apply AI and identify zero-day unknown threats. It's constantly updated. Like I said, with Palo Alto, we've got 90,000 plus customers. These unseen zero-day attacks can be identified, and then we can push that out to all of our firewalls. These steps they're not in any order. Number one, number two, they're not in that. They're just a list. But they're all very important, and these are all things that you can do today that aren't going to cost you a lot of money. There's not a huge investment in doing this. Your money investment here may be a next generation firewall piece of hardware or a firewall in the cloud. But a lot of this stuff is free. Keep your applications and operating systems updated. Update patches They update the security vulnerabilities, security features, bug fixes. This is important. Most of the breaches are to systems that are not patched. A vendor, say Microsoft, finds a vulnerability, they are going to write a patch for it and push it down in an update. Well, if you're behind on your updates, you're that target. You're that easy target for a hacker. This, number 3, is probably one of the most important things you can do. Train your users. Train your users on cybersecurity. Train your users to identify phishing attacks. You know, you get an email from FedEx saying that you have a package and here's your tracking number. Well, if you didn't order anything from FedEx, don't open that. And if you're still curious, cut and paste that tracking number into the actual FedEx website. Same thing with your bank. You know, online banking, everybody's got online banking today. If your bank sends you an email and there's a link in there, it says, oh, check your balance, or we found something weird with your account. Click here and we'll help you fix it. Don't do that. Just go right to your bank. Again, training your users, probably one of the most important things to do. Multi-factor authentication and strong passwords, another really important thing to do these days. And that is even becoming more and more a target where an adversary will continually send you authentication requests. And, you know, we call it fatigue, where you're finally like, oh, yeah, okay, well, I did, you know, maybe I am logging in again. Just hit yes. You know, that is, you got to be very careful. Again, that goes with training. Make sure you can identify all your users, devices, and applications. Know what they are. Know what they, you know what devices and applications your users are talking to, where that traffic is going. That's going to come from your next generation firewall. It will be able to identify all your users. It'll be able to identify your applications and the devices and give you a really good picture of what's going on in your network. That fish tank example, with a good AI firewall or AI processing, that rogue user in the parking lot on his phone or his laptop likely would have been identified and stopped automatically. There's a lot of automation in today's next generation firewalls where if you don't get to it or you're not continually looking at alerts on your firewall or your logs, the automation will do it for you, send you an alert to allow you, okay, I need to go investigate this personally. Disable remote access. I know, or limit its use. And if you are going to use it, use a VPN. Do not have your PCs or your servers internet facing with remote access enabled. This is a, you are an open target with that. So be very aware of that. Yes. Internet facing, meaning that that device has direct access to the internet. So that device is connected and its gateway is pointing directly to the internet, directly to your router to the internet. So, you know, you can have segmented networks where some, like maybe your servers, your server farm, that is likely not internet facing. Your databases, those are kind of on the inside in a more protected segment of your network. It is when you're at home and the office calls you and there's something wrong with the server or I can't get an IP address. You know, yeah, it's really easy to you know, type in your IP address for your server and connect in. You know, Don't do that without protection. Here's another, a big thing also, privileged access management. So privileged access management is where the user has administrator rights to that PC. When you bring in a new PC, and we'll use Windows as an example, you fire that thing up, you're getting it all set up, putting your name in there. By default, you are an administrator of that box. You're a local administrator of that machine. That allows that user full rights to the operating system, the kernel, anything within that system that keeps it running, all your data, you have full access. Create a separate admin account, disable the default admin account, and then only give your users user rights, standard, only give them the rights to what they need to access. So that's that's basically it. This is a shameless plug for our Palo Alto 400 series. It's a small business firewall. If anyone's interested in that, certainly talk to me. And that's about it. I'd love to take any questions, or anyone has any questions. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So if okay, sure. He was asking about how do we train the users? What resources are available to train your users, and on phishing attacks, for example. Talked about sending, test emails to some of your users that you think might be a risk. If you use Office 365, it's included. You can go into your Exchange admin, and you can set up these test emails and send them out to your users. You can customize them. There are canned emails in there that you can use, such as, your Office 365 password is expiring. You can send those out from the system, and it's going to give you a message back. Now, you can also immediately tell the user back that, hey, you failed the test, or you just keep it silent, but you know where you need to train, you know what you need to do to train these users. And there's a ton of resources on the internet to help train your users, what to look out for. I know it's the hackers can be very, very tricky, and they're becoming more and more convincing every day, especially with AI. AI can generate emails that look exactly like they're supposed to. They look real. They have a return address that is dskalitsky@paloaltonetworks.com. And it's not until you dive deeper into that where you can see the path and where that email actually come from. But a normal user is never going to do that. They're not going to even know how to do that. Yes, Charlie. Mm-hmm. You really don't. So I mean, we sell through resellers. Yes. So you would go to CDW and tell them you want a small business firewall. You'll talk to an expert at CDW, or They'll move, send you over to an expert at Palo Alto. We'll talk about your needs, your bandwidth usage, what are you doing in that network, and we can size a firewall appropriately. If you're a small business, you can, these are set up for small businesses. So it's a very easy deployment. It's going to come out. There's a couple of templates or wizards that will, allow you to set up that firewall and configure it for your different needs. Say, oh, we're using SaaS, we're connecting to Office 365. They make it really easy for the small business. Yep. Okay.
Okay, we're breaking 1 second. There are table mics on the tables. When you talk, you can hit the button for people free. That way, our wonderful video team, led by Wesley and Mike and Isaac, can pick up your audio. Thank you.
All right, we're green. So I'm Josh Kruger. I'm the CTO at Integrity Technology Solutions. We support small businesses around Central Illinois. So companies like Palo Alto, that's our bread and butter, right? So we're helping small businesses to understand what the need is, but then also to do that type of deployment. So we can provide those types of services. A lot of small businesses do rely on to be able to do that, especially when they might be too small to be on, say, Dan's radar, right? You're working with named accounts and large companies. So a lot of those end up coming to managed security service providers like us to be able to deploy, plan, and also do long-term monitoring and management of those systems. Make sure they're staying up to date with today's threats and helping protect the environment.
Yep.
I can provide a little additional information. A lot of your HR websites and like payroll management tools might offer IT solutions as well, as far as like training your employees. I know Paylocity does for sure. There's talks about phishing, smishing, blue snarfing, and like what to do if you see that kind of thing, and kind of how to react, who to report it to, that type of thing. And with the Office 365 training, it does require the Microsoft Defender 365, and it depends on what business plan you have. Like E1, I know it's included, which is the enterprise plan, but then there's like the individual one, which is only like $6 to $8 per user a month. And that's what we use to create simulations as well as schedule simulations too.
How's that working?
It's worked pretty good. I just created one like 2 months ago and got about 30% of the company to fail it.
Oh,
I
wow.
generated, I spoofed it from the CFO
That's a good learning experience
and
there.
titled the subject of Handbook 2023. So it was enlightening. I mean, we'd had an instance a few years ago where an employee was asked to send $1,000 in Google Play cards, and someone on a boat, because they're not paying attention much, they looked at their iPhone like, oh, okay, Doug wants $1,000 in Google Play credit, so he went and bought them. Luckily, he texted the president instead of putting it back into the email, but that's just some things that you could see.
Yeah. Someone else had something here?
For number 5, for the RUG users, can your line of product
identify the rogue users right away and disable it or quarantine it or stop it?
You know, it depends. You can much more easily identify a rogue application or a device, but a rogue user might be logging into the system as an actual user. So, you know, you got to be very careful with that. And like that fish tank example, that's what was happening. Yeah. So, they were able to run a password checker and actually log in as a user. And that allowed them to plant this payload on there. And then, you know, like a true virus, we're, you know, very applicable for us today. I mean, it spreads quickly and it goes very quickly. So locally here, you know, I know ISU is in Illinois Wesleyan. You guys have some programs, right? You have some cybersecurity programs. You know, I think it would be great if somehow you can get these students that are involved or maybe getting a cybersecurity degree. You know, they can probably help. Maybe create a small internship for your company, and it could be paid or unpaid. But at least you'll have some expertise. You know, you're not going to give this person the keys to the kingdom. However, it's going to help you and it's going to help them. The other great thing about this whole organization is the collaboration amongst small businesses between each other. Even if you're, you know, you may be in competition with one another, but we're all in competition with cyber risk. So utilize your peers, utilize your other business partners, and there's, you know, there's a lot to this. You know, it's easy to get overwhelmed and, you know, kind of like be a deer in headlights, but you know, calm down, breathe, read up on it. You'll get there. These are steps that you're going to take. If you do 1 or 2 things a week to get there, obviously you do want to be diligent and work pretty quickly, because, you know, the adversary is working very quickly. However, don't panic, and it's better to do something than nothing. That's for sure.
Here's a question for you. On the updates, do you recommend automatic updates or scheduling those? And is running the updates enough? Because I may know some people hypothetically that run updates but don't then reboot their machines. So do you have any advice on how to schedule? Should you schedule those or take the automatic updates from, say, Microsoft? And then what do you need to do to make sure that update has been actually installed?
So that,
Hypothetically.
yeah, that depends on your environment. A small environment, you're probably okay running automated updates and letting it do it and let it automatically reboot. But sometimes updates might break another application or something in there. So if you do have a mission critical application running on a server, you might want to take a look at those, and you can selectively pick the updates that are, you know, apply to you. But, you know, like at home, my home system, I just let it do it. I think Microsoft is like on Tuesdays or something, where, you know, there's nothing on my home PC that I'd rather be patched and secured versus not be patched and be at risk. You know. Yeah.
Instructions on this.
I'll piggyback on that and say, if you look at the latest Verizon DBIR, which is the breach report that tells you like what happens to breaches, the most common exploits of last year were from like 2018 and 2019. So that window of how long it took you to reboot your machine is the least of your worries. If you've done it like this month and it's not from 2018, you're probably good.
Right. You're probably good as right. Yeah. You're probably not a target. I mean, it depends on your business, of course, too, but, like Joe's Tire Shop is probably not on the radar of, some Russian hacker. However, while they're doing their scan and they see Joe's Tire Shop pop up, now you are a target because they see it's an easy way in and it's, you're open.
Just sharing ISC's perspective on the patching is, we're really using a mix of a lot of the things that I think it was Craig that was talking about where, there are some situations where we're going to have something that's high risk. And, to us, the risk of compromise is worse than the risk of having to fix the occasional update. And there are systems where we just say update as quick as you can, as fast as you can. A good example of that is our vulnerability management system that we use to manage vulnerabilities everywhere else. The updates come with the vulnerability definitions, so we have to keep that up to date or the product just doesn't do what it's supposed to. There are other cases where we do have automatic updates turned on, but then there's other controls in place, like maybe it will delay a few days before it installs the update automatically from when it's released. So if there's a problem, the vendor can pull it before it installs. Or maybe we'll use patch rings where we'll slowly push it out to, it'll push out automatically, but it'll slowly push out to more and more and more systems over a week or two. And there are systems, for example, maybe like our largest, like our PeopleSoft system, which is going to be our very large, like HR, payroll, the whole big SaaS system. And that one, we tend to install it very manually. We do curation. We have a lot of testing. We have a lot of integrations, and it just requires a lot of levels of testing and sign off. And that just takes a while. So something like that with the patching is going to be more manual. So the point I'm trying to make is, especially in these medium or even larger environments, patch strategy can really be a mix of all of them. And that's what we do.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, sorry, Leon, did you have? That SolarWinds attack, that came over in an update. So, I know that's the, what I'm saying is, do the updates. However, that did, and that's why it's important to have a good plan, a good security plan, and a good firewall, something that's going to catch these types of things. Weird behavior. Machine learning, it knows what that device and that user and that application normally does. It's learned this over time, and it knows exactly when something looks a little weird, something's a little different, that's when you can put the stop to it. And that's our Cortex XDR, it was an anomaly, something strange. Let's block this until we know more about it. Most of your, I don't know most, but a lot of small antivirus software for your PCs, they will come with update checkers, so an updater that will look at what you have and let you know, hey, this is out of date. This is out of date. This is from 2018. This is from 2017, whatever. But listen to that, and those you want something watching what you're doing and watching what's coming in and out of your system.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. I hope there was some insight here.
Moderators, 5 minutes at your tables, then we'll take a 10-minute break and start.